Welcome to part 2 of the Golf Clash Tour 9 Shootout tutorial. In this video, we're going to be covering the new par 3s we saw that got added with the recent Winter Major, as well as revisit some of the older par 3s we saw in part 1. Before we get started, just a few things to note here. We want to make sure that we understand there are going to be bigger adjustments necessary, because we are seeing much more headwind and stronger winds, and that can be up to and beyond 11 miles per hour, which can be a little scary to try to tackle on your own right out of the gate. So what we're going to do is try to break that down and give some very reliable ways to play all the shootouts you're going to encounter in Tour 9, and hopefully boost that win percentage. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So first up, we have everyone's favorite Acadia Resort Shootout. Now, we didn't cover this in part 1, and that is why I wanted to start off with it in part 2. We're going to be playing this one the fairway closest to the pin there, and we're going to be playing this 10% over adjustment, and we're going to be following the numbers you see here on the left. Let's have a quick look. And we just want to remember, depending on the strength of the wind, that right spin is going to vary a little bit. In a stronger crosswind, we're going to want to use a little bit less, maybe closer to 0. In right to left wind, we're going to want to use a little more, probably closer to 2 or even 2.5, closer to 3. 4 if you got a 12 plus mile an hour headwind. Doesn't happen often, but you never know. And that's going to keep us within about 2 yards of this, give or take, which will win the majority of these shootouts. Nice. Because everyone's in the same boat when it comes to this shootout. No one likes it. Next up, we have one of the new shootouts in Tour 9 here from the past tournament. So the way we want to play this one is it's going to be minimum distance, 20% over adjustment. The thing I want to highlight here is we need to make sure that we are always keeping the ball on the right side of the green, because as soon as you go left, it's going to slope down a little bit of a hill. Not very effective. But other than that, we're going to follow the stuff on the screen there, and let's have a look. And keep in mind that in right to left wind, we're going to want to use about 50% of the ball outside the shot circle there in terms of curl. And in tailwind, we're going to want to play this with our long iron and line up the ball guide just short of the pin, again keeping it to the right side to avoid any catastrophic outcomes, and that'll be 20% max distance. And as we can see, we're about 25% curl. Actually, a little more.
Perfect shot!
But as we can see, keeping it to the right side there, we're going to get a nice roll down from that slight slope on that side of the green. And it'll roll nicely to the pin.
Nice on!
So we're going to move into another new Tour 9 shootout here. This one, we're going to be playing 10% maximum distance from the island just before that patch of fairway leading to the pin. We're going to make sure, and I cannot stress this enough, I absolutely cannot, we want this ball guide to be 2 to 4 squares right of the pin. Otherwise, it's going to shoot left. I believe the island there just before the bunker is rounded, so you're going to get some funky bounces if you do not line it up to the right side of the pin. So again, we're going to be following the numbers on the left side of the screen there. Let's jump into the video. So as you can see here, the adjustment is going to push us 2 to 4 squares right of the pin. As I said, this is going to be critical. If an opponent forgets to do that, you can pretty much guarantee yourself a win. In Headwind, we are going to play on that little piece of fairway just before the pin with our sniper, or guardian if you're using that, but most people are using sniper in 9. And we're going to be playing that full backspin.
Perfect shot.
And there will be slight counter curl, but pretty much can lead it right to the pin and you'll be gold every time. We came up a little short here. That's because we used just under 1 bar of topspin.
Nice on.
If we do too much more than that, we do risk going past the pin. So sometimes it's better to play it a little bit safer, but that will, this kind of shot will win majority of shootouts. But if you want to be a little bit more nervy, have at her.
The last of the new par 3s is a nice straightforward shot. So let's have a look at the adjustments here. As we can see, we're going to be playing this one 20% over adjustment, max numbers, and we're going to always make sure on this one that we give ourselves 2 to 3 squares short and slightly to the right of the pin to maximize our accuracy when we take our shot. But nice and straightforward, so not much to explain. Let's jump into the shot. So as we're going to see here, it's going to be slightly to the right of the pin, and we're going to be about 2 to 3 squares short, which is exactly how you want it because there is a slight slope right to left, and if you're too close to the pin, it will just launch you way too far. So we always want to make sure we have that extra little bit of, we're just coming up a little bit short, and that should give us the optimal shot and the optimal line.
Perfect shot.
And as we can see, that's going to be a nice
Nice
solid
on.
shot. That will win the majority of the time. We just want to really make sure that we're not too close to the pin there with our ball guide, just because, again, it will launch you way far and you'll be cursing my name. So, that should wrap that one up, and best of luck. Next up, we're going to revisit this earlier par 3, and we're going to have a look at a tailwind approach. So these are the adjustments we're going to be using, just a little bit different but similar concepts, and we're going to see we are going to get a very nice bounce and a very nice line to the pin. So let's have a look. Now, keep in mind, if it is a stronger tailwind, like if you're 8 to 10-ish or 10 plus, you're going to probably want to go with closer to that 4 backspin and maybe a little less right curl, just because you're going to get more help from the wind. But as we're going to see here, we've got this one looking real nice. And as I mentioned in the headwind approach there, we always, same concept is going to
Perfect
apply.
shot.
We always want to keep the ball to the right side of the green, because it will, if we aim too directly to the pin, we risk rolling down the hill. But as we can see, nice bounce from that right side, and ooh, so close. Doesn't get any closer. Definitely nice shot. So next up, we are going to revisit a shootout we saw from part 1. Now, I wanted to touch on this one again because things have changed just a little bit and there's a more consistent way to play it. So as we can see, we're still playing this max numbers, 0 over adjustment, 2 topspin, but we're going to up that curl a little bit. We want to make sure we're just getting a little more curl because it makes the line to the pin much better. Other than that, nothing else has changed, so let's jump into the shot. And the text guide, the picture on the screen doesn't include it, but we always want to make sure we're playing that right curl. Always. Doesn't matter what kind of wind. Always have right side spin, not curl.
Great shot!
And I still like to hit that great right just because it adds a little extra something to that angle. And it just makes me feel better, but nothing wrong with a perfect shot, whatever works best for you. So as you can see with that steeper angle, we are now coming in a lot closer to the pin, and that's going to come in that close to the pin a lot more often. Another one we saw from part 1 of the shootout guide, this one plays very similar to the shootout we just watched. This one, we are, again, there's going to be no over adjustment, 0 to 2 top, and we're going to be playing this one almost identical. So 50 to 60% right curl, full right spin as well. Other than that, nothing really else to say, so let's jump in. We just really want to make sure on this one that it's going to bounce onto the green instead of along the fairway, same as the previous shot. Now this is going to allow us to get a nice steep angle and a nice funnel right to the pin, whereas before sometimes you can get caught and the ball will just kind of stop dead on the fairway and roll down 3+ yards away, which is not very effective.
Perfect shot!
So as we're going to see, we're going to get a nice roll onto the green. And a really nice roll right to the pin. And see how we don't lose any speed as it enters the green? That is the roll we're looking for. Because if we lose some of that speed, it can take away from a really, really nice line. So we always want to make sure we're getting a nice amount of curl on that. And as we can see, we're going to roll just within a yard of the pin.
So this one I also wanted to revisit because the adjustment has changed a little bit. So we're still going to follow the same concept here that we can see on the screen, but we're going to move the ball, like the landing spot, back a little bit because we just want the ball guide to trickle down onto the green. And this is going to give us a beautiful roll to the pin. But we're still going to be playing it 10% over, max numbers, 3 to 5 backspin. I usually play it around 4, but in a strong tailwind or crosswind, you may want a little less, little more dependent. Same with the side spin and curl at your discretion. So let's have a look at the video. And you can, the landing spot there, you can play it wherever fits you best. I always play blue ring touching the rough there, like right beside the bunker. And as you can see, we're doing a little more, oh, is that 3? I thought that was closer to 4. So just under 4, my bad. I thought it was just over 4. And we can see that ball guide is just rolling onto the green, like just touching the green there. And we want to make sure both bounces are before the green which is going to give us that beautiful ball guide and beautiful roll I talked about. In Headwind, you're going to want to play this one probably 2-ish backspin, and you're going to want that ball guide closer to the pin. Keep in mind you don't want it through the pin because there is that elevation difference, but you're going to want it closer simply to compensate for the headwind. You can also play it with the driver like the quarterback, full backspin, but some people feel more comfortable using less backspin on the sniper. So as we can see, both bounces before the green, and it's just trickling down that green nicely, which acts as that nice funnel. And as you can see, so close to the hole-in-one, but that's going to win 99% of the time. So this one came up again, and we have a nice headwind demonstration. Now, the trick with this one is we're still going to want it to be on that right side because of the right to left curl of the green, but we're going to want this to be 2 to 3 squares past the pin on that right side. And as we're going to see, it's going to give a beautiful line again. So let's have a look. Now this one you might want to go with, you might want to push that ball guide up a little bit if you're uncertain about the roll. Just remember to compensate a little more with backspin. And you may want to up that right side spin just a touch because we did still come in a little bit left, as you'll see. But overall, very much a reliable way to play this one, and you will see lots of booms.
Perfect shot.
So as we can see here, what a nice line to the pin we got there. And it's going to stop right where we want it. That had the perfect amount of spin and everything. So that's going to be a tough shot to beat. So let's revisit that Acadia Resort shot we just saw with a slightly stronger tailwind. Just so you guys can see, we're going to play it the exact same way, and we're going to have an equally amazing outcome. With a stronger tailwind like this, though, you may want to pull your landing spot back just a little bit because we need to remember that the stronger wind is going to increase those bounces and therefore give us a little more distance without us doing anything. As you can see, we're still playing that 3 to 5 backspin. Slightly more right spin because we're going to move that landing position slightly left. We are going to hit this one great right, but you can see if it was a perfect shot, it would have been the boom. So still a fantastic shot, and you shouldn't have any problems dialing this one in.
Great shot.
So both bounces before the green again. That's going to give us the optimum roll. And again, we're going to hit that funnel. And look how close we come there. Right on the edge. So with the perfect shot, that should easily be the hole-in-one. So last but not least, we have this very, very familiar and frustrating par 3 from Greenwich Point. So believe it or not, guys, in more than 3 days of recording, so we're talking 60 to 70 plus games, I only got this shootout one time. So I tried to get the best footage I could. I had a hole-in-one saved, but that video file became corrupt, so I couldn't share it, unfortunately. But this is going to be the most reliable way I've found to play, and we're going to see a respectable distance from the pin. So we have our 10% over adjustment. It's going to be max numbers, and we're going to want to play this one 0 to 1 backspin. In Tailwind, we're going to want 1 backspin. In Cross and Headwind, we're going to want 0 to 1. If you're finding you're coming up short, you may want to make that just half a bar top spin at the most. I don't want to put that in here because I've never played it with topspin, but if you find it works, by all means. So let's have a look at the one and only recording I found of this hole. If you're finding the headwind approach with sniper is proving difficult, I play left side with either extra mile or quarterback there, and I play that with 3 to 5 backspin depending on the strength of the headwind, and you're going to want 15 to 20% slight right curl, and it's going to be full right spin, and you'll find that it will get you respectably to the pin, which in a lot of times the opponent can struggle with too, so it'll be okay. And as we want to make sure on this one that we really have that adjustment dialed in, and we're playing this one 10% as precisely as possible, because we are kind of flirting with disaster on all sides there.
Perfect.
And a lot of times you'll find your opponent will clip that rough. So as long as you stick to the guide, you will do quite well on this shootout. And there we have it. That line will win it for you majority of the time, like I just said. If you find a better way to play, by all means. This is just in case you're struggling and you're looking for a reliable way to play this hole. So, best of luck.